I'm going to tell you a little bit of what we are doing at Univision, and hopefully after a couple of minutes, answer any questions that you might have. So there's been a lot of change at Univision. Univision is a #1 media company in America, reaching the Hispanic market. It's a highly successful company. Many of you know Haim Saban is the chairman, and we reach 92% of Hispanic homes, 70% or more than our audience is unduplicated, meaning they don't watch anything but Univision. More than 90% it's watched live, which is pretty exciting for us. And we are a very strong market competitor. Nevertheless, we are totally aware that there's new generations coming, that there is a huge demographic shift in the country, and we are preparing ourselves for the future. And I want to show you a little bit of how we are doing that. So in the first chart here to the right, you see in Q1 of 2015, we started having 8 million monthly unique visitors. Then we acquired 50% of Fusion. We owned 50%, and the other 50% was owned by the Walt Disney Company. And they are great partners, and we're very thankful for them. But to them, Fusion was just one very little investment. And to us, Fusion was the bridge to the future. So we decided that it would be a better fit for us to own 100% of the company and use Fusion as the spinal cord where all the other digital properties will live in linear. After that, we decided to acquire The Root. And The Root is the #1 African-American property, digital property in the US. It's very prestigious. It was owned by the Washington Post Group. We bought it from Don Graham. The chairman of the company is the most important scholar in African-American studies, Henry Louis Gates. He remains as the chairman. And it opened a whole new world for us. And from one day to another, instead of being just a place for Hispanics, we became a multicultural play, which was great. When we were working with Disney and doing all the research for Fusion, there was one constant that we were always seeing in the focus groups and in the different research projects that we were embarking on. And it was that humor is the most important currency for this generation. Humor is really the best way to connect with young people. They do not appreciate that you are earnest. They do not appreciate that you preach to them. And maybe that is why in the US, you will see that John Oliver and Gregory Colbert and Jon Stewart are being so successful, and the news properties are dropping down and suffering in ratings. So which one is the most iconic brand that there was out there for humor? And it's called The Onion. It's a very interesting company, not only because they're brilliant, not only because it doesn't rely on a celebrity or a personality, but also because they were capable of transitioning from paper to digital. One of the very few companies that went from a print magazine to a fully digital company. It also had the benefit that it's profitable. And if any of you know Mr. Saban, profitability is important. So we acquired The Onion. With The Onion came ClickHole, which is a parody for Playbuzz and BuzzFeed and all of the world of engaging in Facebook. And also the AV Club, which is a culture, critique, review place that was doing very well. And then, we were at a very nice place. We were with 65 million monthly unique visitors. And we really wanted to be the #1 digital media company in America. And there was only one property that could give us that scale, and it was Gawker. I'm sure that some of you have heard of Gawker for one reason or the other. We were not interested in the sex tapes. We were not interested in the lawsuits or litigation, but Gawker had a secret. Because of all the scandal, it was hiding behind their back 6 amazing digital properties. The #1 digital property in tech called Gizmodo, which is huge. You remember, every time you want to hear about what happened with the latest iPhone or Apple product or whatever, it's in Gizmodo. The #1 gaming vertical called Kotaku, one for women called Jezebel, another one called Lifehacker, another one called Deadspin, which is about sports, and it has a huge advantage. Since we do not own sports rights in that side of the company, we don't need to suck up to anyone. So we can call things the way they are. We can criticize. We can say whatever we want about the different leagues, and be very authentic and transparent. And so Deadspin is a very, very good sports site. And we have another one called Jalopnik, which is for cars and for car enthusiasts. And it became like the place of reference for anything Tesla related. Once we acquired those properties, we put them all under the Fusion Media Group umbrella, and we became the #1 media company in digital in America. And all these happened in 18 months. And if you see the numbers compared to BuzzFeed and Vice and Vox and all of those, it's pretty amazing. It was done quietly. It was done going after brands that were profitable, acquiring 100% of the interest in each company to be able to really be owners and operators of those businesses and have real revenues. So now that we are there, we want to tell you a little bit of what's next. And my concern as a journalist, because I am a journalist, and all my life I have been a journalist, is how poorly we are seen by the audience. People don't believe in us. That is the honest truth. We are in a credibility crisis. And we must be doing something wrong if journalists are being criticized in such a way. It was shocking to me when I saw that we have lower favorability than bankers. That is really something. We are doing a lot of introspection and learning a lot from the Univision experience, where we understand that our boss at the news department, it is really the Hispanic community. We are there to serve them, and we are there to produce the content that will inform them, surprise them, empower them, and make their lives better. So how do you do that? How do you do that? Well, the problem is that you guys understand this much better, but in the United States, around the time when I was born, and I know I look so young, but I was born in 1971, the US was 85% white Anglo, and it looked like this. This is more or less how the US looked like. And there is a huge tectonic demographic shift happening in the US that is changing the face of America. Some people don't want to see it. Some people are very angry about it. You saw the debates this morning. And they wanted to remain the same. But that is unstoppable. That is a reality that we won't be able to change. And to be able to talk to her, I cannot have a room of white, old, male guys. I need to have a newsroom that is as diverse and looks like the people they are writing to. And I think that is the advantage that we have, and that is what making us successful in what we're doing. You see there in the blue line what has happened with white Anglos, and in the green line what has been happening with Hispanics. If you add to that all other nationalities and diversity, it constitutes the other 25% that it's missing there. So, you know, the future looks bright, but it's not a future that you can put on a box in an easy way. There will be Dominipinos, there will be Germano-Mexicans, there will be all kinds of mixes of people that are going to have in common tastes, that are going to want to be connected to the roots, and more important for this generation, they are going to want to have content that will allow them to share with their friends. And that's what we're looking at. And that is content that it's meaningful, that touches their lives, and that has an impact. If it's not something that is really impactful, meaningful, why bother? So what we're doing, to give you one example, is concerned about the narrative and the rhetoric of the presidential campaign. We decided to do an event at the border and do a concert where all of the most important Latino artists and some important American artists, performers, dancers, poets, etc., will come on an event called Rise Up as One. And we will be generating more than 100 pieces of content that will go with this. What do we want? We don't expect that there will be an immediate or tangible change, but we want to be able to affect the conversation. We want to be able to introduce another way where instead of divisiveness and hate and finger pointing and calling immigrants criminals and rapists, we can talk about inclusiveness and diversity and unity. And I don't know how much you guys have heard, but the most important cultural phenomenon in the United States this year, it's Hamilton. It's been incredibly successful. The author is Lin-Manuel Miranda, who did this video for us. And I'm going to show you quickly how he tells more or less what we're doing here.
Houston, your trajectory and guide start go.
We are all from the same human family.
Roger.
Born full of wonder, without fear of one another. But over time we have created divisions, categories, labels, and classes, tribes, races, and nations, us and them. borders and walls. And now some are trying to divide us further, using hate, prejudice, and fear. But from up here, there are no borders. What if we celebrated love in the face of fear? On October 15th, music will build a bridge across a border, and we will be as one. Rise Up as One, a celebration of music and unity.
So that is one little project that we wanted to share with you. We have done other significant projects like advocating for ending solitary confinement for kids in prisons, not only with a documentary, but also with a campaign for the White House, putting political pressure, doing all kinds of town hall events and thought leadership, and focusing on issues that are important. I have only 1 minute and 11 seconds left, so if anyone wants a question, I'll be happy to take. Not before saying that at Univision, we have a 50-year history of serving the Hispanic community, and we take it very seriously. And we champion their causes, and we care what happens to them. And now that we know that we represent 100 million monthly unique visitors of millennials, we plan to do the same. And we plan to let our properties speak with their own voice and remain thought leaders and independent newsmakers. Thank you for having me, and let me know if you have a question.